Every 42 seconds, somebody is arrested for cannabis.
Stop arresting patients! Stop arresting patients! Stop arresting patients!
Welcome to CMMNJ TV.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
I'm Ken Walski, Executive Director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey. The mission of our organization is to educate the public about the benefits of marijuana. Marijuana is a safe, effective, and inexpensive therapeutic agent for a wide variety of diseases, symptoms, and conditions. No patient should suffer needlessly without it, and no patient should ever go to jail for following the advice of a doctor. Join us and learn more about the exciting science of medical marijuana. Welcome to CMMNJ TV. I'm Ken Walski, Executive Director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey. We're here in the Princeton Community TV studios today with 4 women veterans. We have Laura, we have Kim, we have Titania, and Trace. So thank you so much for coming, ladies. And why don't we learn a little bit about one another?
Sure.
Laura?
Okay, so I'm Laura. I'm from New Jersey. That's the one thing about our group. We're all from different states. We also have Sarah. She's not with us today, but she represents us in New York. And we are with the Women's Veterans Collective, and also we have a Weed for Warriors chapter in New Jersey, actually in Trenton, that just was started maybe about 4 months ago. I'm a United States Air Force veteran.
My name is Kim Petters. I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran. I served 10 years active duty, got retired out for PTSD, and choose cannabis as my treatment option, and I want all veterans, all people to have that. So I work with local grassroots groups within my state to help legalize, and we're working more on the medical marijuana program and Women's Veterans Collective.
And you're from Delaware.
And I'm from Delaware.
Okay, great. Trace?
My name is Trace Carazino. Most call me Trace. I'm a U.S. Army veteran. I served 3 years active duty and was discharged honorably under medical. So I'm a disabled veteran at that. I'm from Pittsgrove, New Jersey. Did I say that?
Pittsgrove, New Jersey.
No, all right. I actually use marijuana illegally because I do not have a card. I'm working on that. It's just the prices are a little out there. And I'm working on Women Veterans Collective. We got that going. We're still in the grassroots of it all, but we're getting there.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Titania?
I'm Tatiana Smith. I am from New Jersey. I served 4 years active duty Air Force and took a break, then went back into the Army Reserves, served another 4 years. And I am a New Jersey medical marijuana patient. Once the laws were changed and they allowed PTSD to be a condition that was recognized for treatment, I got on that immediately. I did use cannabis before, of course, legally, because that was my only treatment option, because going to the VA, a lot of pills, psychoactive pills that really didn't like how it reacted with my body, so I used that, once in a while, and then I saw it more as a medicine, more as treatment. More as, instead of just to get stoned or to get high, to relieve a lot of the, anxiety, depression that I was dealing with, and the PTSD, of course, that being the root. And I'm very happy to be here. I met Laura through Weed for Warriors. She started the chapter here in New Jersey, and I'm very grateful that she did, because I couldn't have done it. And very happy to be here.
Great. Thank you all for coming.
Thank
I
you
want to tell you, here in New Jersey, we just have PTSD added as a qualifying condition for the medicinal marijuana program in September of 2016, and it really was the testimony of veterans at the committee hearings that really pushed it over the edge and in support of medical PTSD for medical marijuana. And we the veterans had to go against the New Jersey Psychiatric Association, and yet who testified in opposition to adding PTSD as a qualifying condition, and yet the testimony of the veterans was accepted more than the testimony of the New Jersey Psychiatric Association. So I just want to tell you how proud I am of the veterans and how grateful I am for your support in this. And now you formed this Women's Veterans Collective. So tell me a little bit about that. I understand it's, women veterans are kind of rare and they have their own special problems, and this is one of the is one of the attempts at solution you made, Laura?
Yeah, I think what happened last year is we started meeting each other, the veterans. I met Trace from the High Times Veterans Roundtable that was in Philly, and that was the first time I actually was with other vets that I saw, like, wow, there really are all these issues. Like, I didn't even realize PTSD was what it was. I mean, I heard, all these horror stories. And when you're a vet, you kind of think you're going through it alone, because vets aren't so, you don't run into vets every day. Mm-hmm. So I think that was the biggest thing as a vet, was that I thought I was just kind of going through my problems alone. And then I met Trace, and she was a part of the High Times Roundtable. She actually was in High Times, the magazine, the website and all that. But and when I met her, it changed my perspective. Like, wow, not only I'm meeting other vets, but there's female vets, and they have the same issues that I have. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Awesome. So, and that is kind of how it started. For us, was that there are other female vets, and we have very specific issues that aren't really being addressed by the VA. They're not being addressed, really by anyone. We make up only 10% of all veterans. So funding and programs, they're really just not there for us. So as, female vets, we said, well, maybe we can do something to try to fix some of these issues. And that's how we, came together.
Oh, that's great, yes. We just had showed the copy of High Times that had your picture in it, Trace, so that was great. How did that come about?
I met Mike Whiter after he got the first citation for decrimmed marijuana in Philly for smoking a joint, and I heard his story, and I was like, I got to meet this guy. I was like, I'm going through this. I thought I was alone. That was 2015-ish, end of 2014, I think, and I was like, oh my goodness. It opened my eyes, and I was like, I got to meet more people that understand where I'm coming from with this, because it's like I was addicted to Percocets, and I had to take them, or else they would have kicked me out of the Army without my benefits and said I was denying my treatment. And I was like, wow, so I pretty much was forced to become what I never wanted to be, and I got there. And then I was like, as soon as I got home, my parents were like, you'd be better off smoking pot instead of the handful of pills every night. And I was like, you're right. So I detoxed on my couch, and I met Mike later on, and he was like, I have this idea, come to my house. And I was like, okay, cool. And
Great.
Then I met more veterans from that, and then that led me to High Times, Philly, and I met Laura, and I met Sarah out there. And then I was like, hey guys, I have this idea. We need to do this. So that was WVC.
Women's Veterans Collective.
Yes.
And are you also a member of the Women's Veterans Collective, Tatiana?
Right now I'm working on it. Through speaking with Laura, need to get a Facebook so I can be tuned in. And
she is part of Women's Veterans.
Yeah,
Collective.
all women veterans
part of Women's Veterans Collective. So the answer to that question is yes. Yes, you are.
For y'all.
So you meet virtually as well as in person?
Well, I had seen through this picture, through the panel they had, I saw there was another female veteran in New Jersey doing the same thing I was doing in Delaware. And I reached out to her and I said, that's really cool. There's another female veteran doing this. I said, rock on. And maybe a month later, I contacted you and I said, hey, we need to do something here in the female veteran community, because y'all thought you were alone. I thought I was alone. Come to find out we're not. Maybe a day or two later, hopped on a train, got in a car, drove down to Delaware, met at my house, had a meeting, made a commitment then and there, and the rest is history.
That's great.
And that's it. And it's just full steam ahead from here.
So is this a regional group or is this a national group? Or how many people belong now?
Well, it's basically, now what makes us different is we are open nationally, absolutely. And what makes us different is we accept all women veterans, including the ones that consume cannabis, also including the ones who maybe didn't have an honorable discharge, because oftentimes you're not welcomed into certain veteran groups unless you have an honorable discharge. And what I'm seeing from a lot of women and males who reach out to different various organizations is that they got kicked out of the military other than honorable or under administration reasons, and come to find out the reasons that they got kicked out were symptoms of their PTSD. And so here you have this person who served their country, and because of maybe they went off one day, or maybe they had an alcohol related incident because they were using alcohol to self-treat, and now the military says, oh, you're going to be a problem, so you got to go. And not only do you got to go, you lose all your benefits, and good luck getting into any veteran groups because they don't want other than honorable. We take all veterans, all women, come as you are.
Yeah.
All walks of life, come as you are.
And it's, I would assume if you're 10% of the veteran population, women are, then 90% of the population are the males who are, running their own groups. So you may be made to feel like an outsider. I don't know that, but
Sometimes you might run into a situation where if you're in a group of males, everybody plays the, what was your MOS or what was your AFSC or things like that. And you don't have the, stories to compare because a lot of, combat roles weren't open to females until only a few years ago. And a lot of us have been out for a few years and we don't have the same experiences as some of the other veterans do. And we're females. So.
yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I do get along with them. I do relate to them, but
There's just some
there's
things you can't talk about.
and sometimes not only that. Say I walked in. This was a group of male veterans, okay, and I was coming to hang out because I needed some camaraderie and to be around people who understood me without me having to explain myself. But then, and this is not related to anyone specific, their wives may not be too happy about me hanging out with them all day. But the problem is, so if I don't fit in with the 90% of the veterans out there, and I don't fit in necessarily with the civilian world, where do I fit in? Where can I go where I can be, one, accepted, and two, understood? And that right there is how Women Veterans Collective came about, because we face, even sometimes when I have meetings with male veterans, there had been issues in the past we've already had where their wives they were fine with them meeting with veterans until we showed up and they saw we were female veterans, and then they were no longer allowed to have that meeting with us.
How about that?
So it's common.
That's unfortunate.
It really is. We consider us unicorns because
Unicorn.
how often, we are slim pickings. Like, it's so hard to find women vets. This launched them in my direction, and I was like, oh my goodness, there's more. I was so happy.
Yeah, and now I'm not a veteran myself, but my father was in World War II, and all my uncles were in World War II, and they were very involved with the VFW and Disabled American Veterans organizations, and it just seemed like the main activity there was drinking.
Sometimes if you want to self-medicate, if you don't, it's a lot easier to just go to the liquor store.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a lot
legal.
easier. It's
Yeah.
legal.
You
You
have
don't have to-
It's
you
more
have access to
accepted.
the bad
Right.
stuff. You have
Absolutely.
access to what can cause harm. You have access to what is addictive, but you don't have access to cannabis. That's exactly it.
And it's more
exactly
socially
it.
acceptable as military, because in the military we drink. We don't have.
There's alcohol everywhere.
There's
in
alcohol
the
everywhere,
military.
and you kind of look at that like, oh, okay, well, it's it's just drinking, or it's just, and then it, like I said, after you've experienced whatever your experience was in the military, you do have PTSD. Sometimes it's a slippery slope, and you want to medicate with alcohol or other illegal substances, or even if you're getting prescriptions from the VA, you want to use those in conjunction, because it's just not the intrusive thoughts, things like that. It just won't go away.
You need relief, and you're desperate to find it however you can. Sometimes that's really what it comes down to, is you need relief. You can only go so long
Yes.
with all of that. I completely understand.
Yeah.
There are surprisingly, I found out that the problems of homelessness among female veterans is
They're rising.
We've caught up to the men in
Yeah.
homelessness. The female veterans, which only make 10% of the
10%.
population, have caught up to the men, and our unemployment rate's double the men.
The male veterans, the female
Yes.
veterans' unemployment rate is double. Unbelievable.
It's insane. It's just, and it's still climbing.
Mhm.
That's insane.
And think about how many, like you said, we're talking about underreported. Like, think about
How many are actually, that's the reported numbers. Imagine how many don't.
That's unfortunate.
And it must be, being in a service must be stressful in and of itself, but it must be particularly stressful for a woman in a hyper masculine dominated kind of organization like the military. I would think that would be particularly a stressful environment for a woman. Did you find that to be true, or is that?
Absolutely. Absolutely true. I fractured the neck of my femur and got run over by a vehicle. Like all kinds of craziness. It happened. Couldn't make it up. I was still rucking up. To me, they were mountains, I guess hills in Germany. Like full load,
Full combat
everything, weapons, everything. And like tears would be coming out because it's like, oh my goodness, it's so painful. But I couldn't let anybody else see me cry because then I was perceived as weak. And it's like, if anything,
not cry.
that is the last thing
That's
you will
do not
ever
cry.
like take from me. Like I'm not weak. I put in all I could. I literally broke my body off for a country that I can't even come home and have access to marijuana, cannabis, whatever have you, pot. I don't have access to that. And it's like, we did our time. We did it. Let us have some medication because we don't want the Percocets. We don't want the Zoloft. We don't want that. It isn't working.
And now, Tatiana, you're involved with the Weed for Warriors project.
Yes.
And tell me about that.
Well, Weed for Warriors, it was started out in California by a Marine veteran. I actually just watched his story the other day, the complete story. He actually started 30 days after he got out of the hospital from trying to commit suicide from VA-prescribed medications in the Bay Area in California. And fortunately, I've been following the movement online, looking at Instagram posts, just knowing that California and the West Coast is handled a lot different. Their medical program, but whether it be medical or recreational, their veterans, it's like they're treated completely different when it comes to just a lot of things. And they have a little bit more freedom and leeway out here, but
Then the East Coast.
than the East Coast, because it's just, I mean, a lot of the states out here don't have even a medical marijuana program to reference, much less, you know, like I said, accessibility being an issue and all those other things that comes with New Jersey. But I got in contact with someone and I found Laura, and we've had, I think we're on our 5th meeting. We're going to have our 5th meeting coming up. And it's, like you said, that camaraderie. You feel that morale as soon as you walk in because you can talk to anybody. I mean,
Yeah.
and you could just talk, and it's nice because we have, it's just a lot of,
It's like an understanding.
An
instant-
instant understanding.
And these are vets, like most of them that are coming to the group are PTSD vets, you know,
Yes.
do have, you know, certain issues that this is a place where, you know, the VA doesn't have a program like this where you
No.
can come and talk about the issues that you have going on, and this is how I'm handling my PTSD, or, you know, we're also helping vets become patients. So teaching them like, okay, this is how you pull your records, you know, this is how, you know, we have a few doctors that have decided to, like, you know, they'll work with us and they're going to be offering discounts. So that is also a program that we're trying to, you know, get into play. But you don't have to be a medical marijuana patient to come to our group, but it's there, and we do have the information to pass, you know, also to pass the vets. But I found that this group actually became more than I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought it was just going to kind of be vets kind of hanging out, smoking, and, you know, but it actually is providing a service that there's not really, that I know of, especially in Jersey, any other group that's doing this, where you can come, you can smoke, you know, and it's, you know, and like I said, you know, talk about what you have going on.
And you're both in the Trenton chapter of the Weed for
Yes.
Warriors?
We're the only chapter in New Jersey.
The only chapter?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And how often do you meet?
Once a month.
Once a month, and in Trenton?
In Trenton. We're actually meeting at the NJ Weedman's joint. We've been offered that space, you know, and that's another reason I don't require everyone to be a medical marijuana patient, because, you know, at the joint, it's a cannabis sanctuary, so anybody can smoke in there. It's part of, you know, the religious freedom that we have under Kuma, you know, also there. So, yeah, so that's where we're meeting right now.
So that was the meeting that I attended.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I spoke at the
Yep.
with
Yes.
several of the vets.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting
Yeah, we
me.
appreciate you coming.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
because information is power, especially in New Jersey.
It
where
is.
Even the medical laws get kind of murky. You know, they don't really explain. They send you a notice in the mail when you first get your card of all the rules front and back, and it's still like, well, can I smoke where I can smoke cigarettes? Well, not quite. Well,
Yeah,
not here,
yeah.
and not
Gray area.
It's- yeah.
Loopholes
absolutely. So
where
when
the
you
law
can-
can get you.
Exactly, which is something that I know we were talking about the other day. A lot of military people, you don't have a record. You don't have any interaction with law enforcement is probably going to be limited to like a ticket or two.
Yeah.
And you get out and it's like, you don't want to put your future at risk, or they tell you, you know,
Yeah.
you might have a little bit of, you know, you might be scared just to even use cannabis medicinally.
It's true. And then people also, like, I feel that they're afraid to use cannabis anywhere, so you end up just smoking in your house by yourself, which is cool,
Isolation, though.
you know, but it's like you're just smoking by yourself, and it's, I don't know, I think it can kind of be also like an entrapment, like you just feel like you're trapped in
Stuck.
your own. So this
Isolation
yeah.
is the #1 killer to
It
veterans.
is,
if
and
you
and
ask
that's
me.
another thing I have vets that want to come to the group. They're just not in their treatment where they can get out of the house yet. So our group even offers, like, you know, we stay in contact with them, and we're helping people become patients without even coming to a meeting.
Because that's
You
a
know,
lot
love
for
that.
some people.
I love
Yeah,
that
and,
you guys are doing
and,
this.
and
I
I
love
feel
it.
like they're gonna be, you know, like I have vets now that reach out to me and they're like, just thank you for being there to answer some questions and to talk, because there's nobody to talk to once I get out of the VA program, you know, and they can't even talk to the VA about, oh, well, I use cannabis and this is helping. Like, the VA doesn't want to hear that, you know, and it actually, like, you can be kicked out of certain programs for using cannabis, a patient or not. So, you know, it's.
I heard they stopped doing that, the VA.
They may. I don't know. Like, there are still certain programs as far as like housing programs and things like that you can't be smoking.
Yeah, sure.
I think
know?
it did affect veterans' benefits if you were had a disability, if you had a rating from the VA. I think that before it was affecting some veterans, depending on what state they lived in, their benefits.
I
Because they're not
I
following the
heard that they
treatment.
would be thrown out of pain clinics if they were tested
Yes.
positive
Absolutely.
for THC.
Yes.
But then they stopped doing that.
Oh, so maybe.
They
Okay.
stopped doing that if they were in a state that allowed, you know, medical marijuana.
Gotcha.
But still, the VA doctors can't recommend it, and you
Right.
can't talk to the VA doctors
Yeah.
about your use of marijuana, even though it's an important part of your therapy.
And a lot of them aren't informed. If you bring it up to your mental health provider,
Yeah.
a lot of them aren't
They
informed.
offer drug treatment. You use
Exactly.
cannabis, you need drug treatment.
we have a
but
program.
take these oxys.
I've been blessed a little bit with that because my doctors know that I use marijuana and they're like, okay, cool. They know I don't want anything that they want to give me. I've tried a few things after they misdiagnosed me and now I'm diagnosed correct. And I was like, okay. Because I was on Zoloft and all of that stuff and it made me crazy. Like, like wild,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like off my
Yeah.
rocker, and I was like, what's up with that? And then
Prozac
finally I
too.
found out I was diagnosed incorrect, so we fixed that, and I'm cool. I'm riding cool right now, but like, I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, there's a lot of, you know, ignorance or just lack of information in the medical community about the benefits of marijuana therapy. That's something that we run into in the larger medical community all the time, and we're trying to correct. You would think that this emerging science of the endocannabinoid system, a system in the human body that affects all the other systems, would be, you know, something that people who
More
are in healthcare
knowledge,
would
yeah.
really want to be jumping on and understanding as much as they can about, but it's simply not true. It's not the case for a number of reasons. So, you know, we are trying to improve that, but it's slow going.
Well, I think that's one of the things that the WVC, the Women Veterans Collective, is also trying to do is to end the stigma that if you smoke cannabis, it doesn't make you a bad mom. It doesn't make you, you know, a bad person in society. We can still work. We can still, create groups and programs, and we can still do all these things and still smoke cannabis. Like, you're able to do that. Not everybody that smokes cannabis just sits on the couch smoking, watching cartoons, and eating snacks. Like, that's not, that's
I
a
could
very,
sit on the couch
like,
for 10 minutes straight.
So that's one of the things also that we're trying to do as females is say, look, this is what it is. We smoke. It's part of, it's medicine for us. It's part of relaxation. It's part of, it can be recreational. Whatever it is for you, it's not the same as doing coke. It's not the same as doing heroin. It's not the same as doing all these other, even pain meds. People take a huge amount of opiates every month. It's not the same.
And you can look to other states. I mean, Colorado, Washington State, California. I mean, somebody laid the blueprint, and it's all out there. But you can see, I know in Colorado, the first year that alcohol taxes, were surpassed by marijuana taxes because people are coming to that state just for that reason, and they're making so much.
Tourism, the number one tourism state in all of America. Absolutely.
Nobody was going there to ski a couple years ago.
No.
Not like that. The mountains are beautiful, but
they're not that beautiful.
Not that beautiful.
Maybe they are, but they're extra beautiful with cannabis.
One thing to add about New Jersey: if we would add opioid abuse to the qualifying conditions list for medical marijuana, we could cut down the whole opioid problem in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I know that's a big thing Christy is working on, and it's come on.
Yeah, he's making commercials.
We're living proof that opioid addiction is hell, and coming off of it is terrible. But when you have the assistance of marijuana to get off of it, it's a gateway to life. It is a gateway to having yourself back.
It's a gateway to living again,
Yeah.
not just existing anymore.
One of the things that people don't understand is just because it's not on the medical marijuana program list as an indicated use doesn't mean that it doesn't work for other things.
Yes.
Right.
Just because it's not approved.
Just because it's not approved doesn't, I'm not a medical marijuana patient, but I know that cannabis is medicine for me. So that doesn't, it's, like I said, just because it's not on the list doesn't make it not valid.
Right. Cannabis has tremendous therapeutic potential,
does.
and it's going to be a while before the complete potential is recognized, but we're working on it. So thank you so much, ladies.
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you so
us.
much.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
It's,
much.
thank you for your service and your continued dedication to America.
Thank you.
For more information about the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey, join us at our free public meetings on the second Tuesday of every month at the Lawrence Township Library in Mercer County, New Jersey, from 7 to 9 p.m. Snacks are served and all are welcome. Remember, every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Cada 42 segundos está uno arrestado por marihuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody is arrested for